And any break right now on energy prices could make a huge difference for all of us here in Connecticut. With gas hovering around $4 a gallon right now, our electricity rate is among the highest in the nation. State lawmakers are under pressure to do what they can to help.
If the legislature has some other ideas, for example, a property tax rebate or more support for education, let's look at that as well. I want to help people now.
Throwing out another idea to spend money and then not following through is disappointing.
Representative Joe Gresko joins us now to discuss some of the things they are working on. The Democrat from Stratford is on Energy and Technology Committee as well as the Environment. He's also Deputy Speaker. Representative Gresko, thanks for joining us. Let's start with the gas prices. It's on everybody's mind lately. Again, over $4 a gallon in some places in Connecticut. The governor talked about pausing the 25-cent gas tax. Is it still on the table this session?
Everything is still on the table. We're trying to take a, all of the above kind of approach to seeing what's going to eventually work out. We had a gas tax relief back during COVID for a few months when we were hit then. So it's not out of the question to actually do it. But we have a finite pot of money that we set aside to use for these types of purposes. And you might want to have a gas tax holiday. I might want to get some money in a check sent to my home so I could see, touch, and feel it. Other people might want to have a property tax credit bump up on when you do your income tax. So instead of 300, maybe it goes up to 500. So those things are what we're talking about.
So that debate is going to continue on where that money, that you're talking about the $500 million emergency fund, right? That's where the money's coming from?
Yes, that's correct. So that's the amount we've given ourselves. Can we possibly go over that? Well, if there are good ideas, maybe so, but I'd like to keep it to $500 million if we could.
So because energy prices are skyrocketing, people are looking for alternatives. You are sponsoring a bill, co-sponsoring a bill that looks at something called plug-in solar, which I've never heard of until I saw an article in the CT Mirror about it. It's a portable solar panel that you can actually put like on your deck if you're in an apartment or on your back deck of your house. What's the bill all about?
Well, the bill has got multiple facets to it, but the one you're referring to would be just that. You would buy a little mini solar array, and if you lived in an apartment or a condo, had a balcony, a window, you can use that facing towards the sun, obviously, and plug it in, and it would go to offset some of your bill because the outlet that you plug it into is associated directly with your account, so it would be offsetting some of your power use.
Now, the power companies, I think, are a little bit skeptical on it in some of the articles I read. Would that be something that would have to be ironed out to make this a law in the state?
We like to have a cooperation from the utility companies, but we can point to the state of Utah for being the first in the nation to do this, and we'd like to copy that. We have a cap on virtual net metering, which would be, hey, I don't have a backyard, or I don't have a house that faces south, kind of thing. So solar isn't good for me in my location, but I want to participate. So that's where virtual net metering would come in. But not everybody has access to that. This gives you direct, immediate savings with solar on your balcony.
So interesting. Plug-in solar, I'd never heard of it before. I'm going to do some more research on it. Under the Biden administration, I'm sure you were aware, there were big tax credits that led a lot of families to opt in for the traditional solar grid on your roof. And as we know, the Trump administration took away those credits. Is there a way the state can pick up the slack in that in any way to kind of bring that back to a more vibrant program?
It would be one of the things we would consider going forward, especially once, as you said, the tax credits and the federal subsidy runs out, and we try to figure out how we pivot and make these a non-residential business tax credit. It used to be CPACE, and then the RRES, the residential rate. Those things are sunsetting. So it's incorporate on the state to come back and say, hey, instead of doing that, we suggest that the state does this. So that's part of the bill you referenced in the study portion of it.
So all of the above is what Governor Lamont talks about when it's trying to bring down energy costs, to bring more supply into the state. So that would mean also things like nuclear. more gas, which there is a pipeline that could be connected. I guess it's over the New York line. And these things are coming back into favor where they were kind of pushed aside for more greener options. Where do you see either of those going, whether it's the gas line or small nuclear?
Well, small nuclear will be a challenge to locate in Connecticut. You'd have to have a municipality that would be willing to host that, as small as it may be. As far as I've been able to research, a facility would be like the size of a grocery store anyway, not very huge like they used to be, but still, it's not a small footprint. So siting that would be a challenge. And then, the natural gas pipeline ending in New York, it would be nice to be able to have additional capacity coming to the state of Connecticut. Back 10, 15, 20 years ago, natural gas was touted as the bridge fuel to go from oil and coal to electricity and solar and more renewable sources. And I still think it has a part to play, especially with fueling fuel cells, which I think are a nice in between. You're not using too much natural gas, but you're getting a baseline and a baseload way of generating electricity. So there's, as I said, all of the above is the way to go.
All the above. Representative Gresko, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for giving us your time this morning.
Sure thing. Thank you.